Thank you, guys. Thank you all for coming today. I did speak with some of you as we were waiting for it to be 1 o'clock and sort of got the sense of why you're here and some of the questions that you have. Hopefully I will touch on them during the course of the presentation. As you signed up, as Debbie said, transitioning your personal project into commercial work and back. As I was going through and putting together the content for this, I realized that it evolved into a 12-step program for how to do this. So just coincidentally, it's a 12-step program. It's not a broader spectrum than that, really. But these are pretty much 12 things I do with my commercial work, with my personal work, really just good business practices. You don't have to do them in this order, but just as long as you're doing most of them, I think that you'll have some good luck. If you have questions, which I'm sure you will, if there's things that you want to talk about, by all means, please think of your questions. Would love to talk to you about them, but if we can wait until the end, that would be great. And definitely want to thank B&H and thank ASMP for having me today. So let's get started. Number 1 on our list of things to do. It doesn't matter what you take pictures of, just take pictures. And I know that sounds really, really silly, but when I first started out, I just expected that people should know that I'm a photographer. I graduate from college, I've arrived, and you just wait for the emails to come and the phone to ring. But you have to take pictures, and you have to take pictures of things that you're passionate about. It can really be anything. My dog is always a good subject. She listens usually and makes for a good picture. It can be a theme. This was a series of death professionals that I did, not really the most uplifting, but had a good time doing it. This is pictures with a Holga. Someone earlier mentioned, how do you stay interested in taking pictures when you take pictures all the time? I'll use different cameras, and using a Holga is a great way to feel like I'm actually taking pictures and not working. Holga is a film camera. It takes 120 film. They're about $15. I'm sure they are sold at B&H. And they are quirky and vignette, and sometimes you get light leaks, and you still have to go get your film processed, but there's nothing better than getting a contact sheet and seeing what you've created. And if you lose one or it gets crushed on vacation, it's not heartbreaking and terrible because it only costs $12, and you can take some beautiful pictures. But again, whatever you do, you just need to be taking pictures of something. Give yourself a personal project, whatever that is. I mentioned before, guys in green hats. Have your Holga with you, and every time you see a picture with a guy in a green hat, that's your thing, or whatever speaks to you. That's what you should be taking pictures of. So as I was starting out in the photo world, really not knowing what to do or what path to take, they don't really have an instruction manual on how to become a professional photographer. I was interested in sports, so I would look in the newspaper, I would look online, look in magazines, and see if there was anything that interested me. This was a snowboard tournament in Vernon, New Jersey, which wasn't far from where I lived, and I said, oh, that would be sort of cool. I called up the PR director and I said, hi, can I get a photo pass? I'd love to take pictures. They're thrilled to have someone interested in what their event is. Sure, come take pictures. So I go take pictures. Some of them were good, some of them not so good, but I'm directing, I'm producing, I'm learning how to be a photographer. And all of those things count when you're getting paid. When you're not getting paid, you can mess up and no one cares. This was the Milrose Games at the Garden. Again, bring a piece of black seamless, tape it up to the wall, and just take pictures. And these are high school kids. They're more scared of me than I am of them. And you just take pictures. This guy was an Olympic fencer I met on the train coming home from work one day. But then I start getting more comfortable and I go to a high school basketball tournament and there's a million 15-year-old kids and I see this kid walking around and he's skinny as can be, so skinny that he has to safety pin his shorts, and I think that's sort of quirky and cool. And I do a picture of him and he's excited that he's gonna get his picture taken and, oh yeah, I don't really know where it's gonna be, but just model for me. And of course any 15-year-old boy would do that. And then I do an event at Madison Square Garden is another, I think it was the Super 6 high school basketball tournament. And I ask someone there, can I bring a backdrop? Can I set up lights? Okay, sure. And I do pictures. And then I start sending those pictures out. High school basketball, New York City. Slam Magazine, that seems like it makes sense. So I send it to Slam Magazine and they say, Jen, we really like those pictures you did of the 15-year-olds. Do you want to shoot the New Jersey Nets? And that becomes my first cover. And I think, oh, this is so easy. You just shoot 15-year-olds and then you shoot covers of magazines. And I genuinely thought for a while that was how it was going to work. And I remember that cover came out and I thought my phone was going to be ringing off the hook, and I thought that, you know, it was just going to be Easy Street from April of 1998 forever. I was just going to be Annie Leibovitz and Bruce Weber all rolled into one. And that wasn't what happened. I now had that cover under my belt and I was able to direct people and I had pictures, but I had to do more because it wasn't going to be just about that. So it brings me to my next point. You never know how your clients are going to find you. You never, ever, ever. One of you may be the art director that I'm dying to work for in this room. You never know, but you have to be prepared and you have to act the part so that when you get that opportunity, it's there for the taking. So that means your website has to be up and running and functional. And if you want to be a photographer, you have to have insurance and you have to have the proper gear and you have to be a photographer. Even if you aren't one yet, you have to pretend that you are because that is sort of all part of it. Again, I don't know how many of you are aspiring professionals in here or are professionals, but how many of you have your own web address? Okay, so about half of you. Of that, how many of you use that web address as your email address? Okay, I say we lost about half of the people there. That is one of the hugest peeves of mine, and I imagine it's a peeve of others as well. That is free advertising. So I could use my jpotheiser@AOL account if I wanted, but why would I lose the opportunity to send someone an email and have jen@potheiser.com, because all of a sudden I'm legit because I have my own web address. So that is one of those things about playing the part. I'm not going to think you're a real photographer or a real whatever you are unless those little details are kind of taken care of. So we get back. You never know how your clients are going to find you. I do pictures of my sister's dogs. For a holiday card, annual tradition, she sends out her holiday card, cute, whatever. I don't know who's going to see that. She has friends, business associates, whatever. Someone from St. Hubert's Animal Shelter sees it. That's a local animal shelter, and obviously you can tell just from the little bit I've shown you thus far, I'm an animal fan, and I'm also quite active in volunteering. So someone from St. Hubert sees this, oh, we really like that dog in the Christmas card. Do you think that he would model for our Valentine's Day promo that we're doing? Oh, and you're a commercial photographer? Oh, of course I'm a commercial photographer. I shot the cover of Slam Magazine. Do you want to do our Valentine's Day promo? Okay, sure. I set up a seamless in my garage and some junior art director comes over and all of a sudden I'm doing pictures. And then St. Hubert says, oh, we really like your work. And I said, well, I really like your organization. Let me know if you need anything. I'll be happy to volunteer if I can. So I'm practicing, and I get pictures of dogs, and I volunteer my time there both as a photographer and just walking dogs and things like that. And then their holiday mall wall comes around, and they say, Jen, we need someone to do our advertisement. It's going to be a 10-foot by 40-foot thing in the Short Hills Mall, which is a big suburban mall, from Thanksgiving until New Year's, and we'd really like if you would shoot it for us. And I say, oh, okay, great. So I do portraits of all these dogs, and I work with more art directors, and then all of a sudden thousands of people see that mall wall, and then the next year same ad agency says, Jen, loved what you did, will you do it again? And they say, will you do it again? And
is this paid or volunteer?
This is volunteer. And there are people philosophically who are opposed to that. I am not one of them. It's an organization that I believe in, and it's not something that they would be paying someone to do otherwise. It would just sort of be a bad billboard. So I figure I now have all of this content. Which brings me to number 3. You are not going to meet anyone when you are home on the couch. It isn't, I mean, maybe you'll meet some people online, but realistically, the people that you need to meet, you're going to meet when you have a camera in your hand, when you're dressed up and playing the part of that photographer. And these can be things that you're doing when you're volunteering. It can be things that you're doing when you're working on your personal project. But I don't think that too many of those things are happening when you're home complaining that you're not getting work and you're not getting hired. So get off the couch, I beg of you. So another nonprofit that I'm involved with, again, more dogs, is Canine Companions for Independence. Sometimes at their events I bring my camera, sometimes I don't. But this one, I happen to bring my camera, and I don't know, there's 20 people in here. Again, I'm a professional photographer at this point, and I've given up my waitressing job. But regardless, I'm still in the practice mode of saying, okay, I need 20 people, I need you over there, you in the back, and you're directing and you're producing, and those things matter when you're getting paid. So I take this picture, and then right over here I turn around while these people are getting their dogs organized, and there's this man who's just received his working dog having a quiet moment, and I say, oh, that's sort of a cool shot. I turn, shoot, and okay, everybody back, look over here, you stand, look this way. And because I'm still playing the part of being a photographer, I put all these pictures in a photo gallery, and I email out the link to all the volunteers. And again, you never know who is going to see your pictures. So the link winds up somehow at someone with the American Journal of Nursing. I don't know how, I don't care, but again, you don't know how your pictures are going to be seen, who is going to see them. They happen to be doing an issue on living well with multiple sclerosis. This man had MS, and for them it was perfect. That was paid.
How did they contact you? Through the
Someone, I made a photo gallery. I emailed out the link to all the 20 people in that picture. They then post on their Facebook page. They then send out that link to their cousin, grandmother, uncle. I don't know, because you never know how someone is going to find you.
So you don't use any software in order to digitally watermark or put information?
For something like this, no. Because this was probably the only picture that had any significance to anyone other than the people that are involved with the organization. So American Journal of Nursing paid a cover rate for that image. I, in turn, donated it back to CCI, but it was then another client. So here I am on my own time getting involved with an organization that I'm passionate about, that turns into a paying job, that turns into a new client. it's a snowball. That wouldn't have happened if I was home on my couch. Could have very easily been home on the couch that day. Next one. Always do your research. Seems really, really obvious, but whether you're doing a personal project or whether you're doing a paid assignment, know who you're photographing, know about the organization. These next few pictures are from an organization that I volunteered my time for called the Heart Gallery. Any one of my photo friends, peers knows that if I'm not working and it's an interesting sounding cause, I'll volunteer. I'm not gonna sit home on my couch, because that was number 3, I think. So I do some research on the Heart Gallery, and it's an organization that is trying to get highly unadoptable children into homes, into their forever homes. So these are really their PR photos. How can you make this 8-year-old girl look like she needs to be in your home? I do some research on the organization, and I see the pictures that have been done before by other volunteers who are quite generous with their time, and I say, well, these are some cool pictures, but it doesn't really make me want to take that kid home. What am I going to do that makes these kids girly and fun and being kids? This isn't that serious. They're just kids. So I raid my niece's dress-up closet and take all of her stuff and find a nice girly backdrop and let the girls go to town. They're 8-year-old girls. That's what they do. And while I'm there, another person volunteering their time happens to be a photo editor from Sports Illustrated, cause that she believes in. Not gonna meet that photo editor if I'm at home on my couch. I'm not gonna really want to interact with that photo editor if I'm doing some lame setup, have no thought involved in the kind of pictures that I'm gonna take. So even though this is not a paid assignment, even though this doesn't count for anything other than these children's lives, but I mean, really, it doesn't count. This is, in my mind, this is a paying assignment. I'm going through the motions to make sure that my car is loaded properly, that I have batteries, that I have my gear for this job, because this is my chance to make a picture for my portfolio or to impress someone with my abilities. So it's not, just because it's not paid, just because it's personal, doesn't mean you should come at it half-assed. I mean, in a nutshell. So then I meet the editor from Sports Illustrated. And number 5, pitch your good stories to the people that should know about them. And that means targeted pitches. I'm not gonna send a feature on Olympic moms, which we'll get to. I'm not gonna send that pitch to Food and Wine magazine. I don't wanna waste their time. It's not worth it for them to open my email. It's not worth it for me to piss them off and say, why hasn't this girl done her homework? But I wanna pitch it to anywhere and everywhere that might be interested in. College alumni magazines, if your subject that you're shooting is, you know, an NYU grad, get in touch with the photo editor at NYU. There is so much of a need for content. You just have to take your content and get it to the right place. And again, do your homework to find out what that right place is. So I meet the photo editor of SI, and I say, hey, I've been reading a lot about these identical twin doubles champs, Bob and Mike Bryan. I do a lot of work with the USTA. Do you think we could coordinate something, and I'll do some pictures of them? Oh, sure, that sounds good. So I shoot Bob and Mike Bryan, adorable, nice, fun shoot, and then that doesn't happen if I'm at home on my couch on the day of the Heart Gallery shoot. And it doesn't always have to be about a commercial thing or a work-related thing. I like going to antique auctions, and I'm at this antique auction, and I see a flyer about an antique bicycle auction. I say, wow, I would love to go to that. And then I say, wow, I would love to go to that and get paid. And I find out who the photo editor is at Bicycling Magazine and who the editorial director is, and I send them a pitch, and I say, there's this cool thing in upstate New York, antique bicycle auction. I'm not sure why you guys have never done a story on it, but how about it? Okay, sure, Jen, go do a feature on this antique bicycle auction. And part of this is able to happen because I have my website and because my email is coming from jen@potheiser.com and because I've played this part of I'm actually a photographer. Whether I am or not, still not so sure, but you kind of have to act like you are. So I do this story for Bicycling Magazine, and then I read probably in some flyer at this bicycle auction about blessing of the bicycles in New York. Oh, that would sort of be a cool story for Bicycling Magazine. Let me mention it to the photo editor. And I go up to a church uptown, and there's blessing of the bicycles. And I do a series of portraits. And again, it's just using what I have to do more and better stuff. Always have a personal project, even on paying jobs. That sounds a little shady. It isn't. When you go, I don't know how many of you are getting paying jobs. Hopefully, lots of you, hopefully more will get them. But if you're on a paying job, you need to get what your client needs. But if you see something that you think would be good for your client, don't be afraid to show it to them. So I do some football pictures, and I take this picture of Des Bryant, and I take this picture of Von Miller, and they're lovely photographs on white, but they could not be more cheesy. Football players do not look like this. I mean, they don't smile and they don't stand like that with a ball, but that's what my client wants, so that's what I have to give them. But I can also have a little bit of a personal project here and say, okay, well, I know they need this, but if I take about 30 seconds and take that picture, this one is gonna wind up in my portfolio. Not that one, sorry Des. Von, let's take 14 seconds and you stand over here, and this one is gonna be on my website. And Nadamika, come over here, and it's really pretty available light, like 4 inches over from this white setup that we have, and this one's gonna be a promo card. And then that's the promo card that I email out to my targeted audience. And then that promo goes to Nike, and they say, oh yeah, Jen, you did that shoot with Nadamika Sue already. Do you wanna do another thing for us? Okay, sure, that would be great. And that's how it happens. But you need to take those pictures. I would not have gotten this job from Nike by sending them that super cheesy photo of Nadamika Sue holding a ball on white. That isn't really too Nike-ish. But I went in there saying, okay, I need 14 seconds to get this good picture over here. And the client is thrilled because they're saying, oh yeah, we didn't know that would be a cool picture on that brick wall with the f1.8 aperture. That's kind of nice. Which intertwines with, see what's right in front of you. I'm in the bowels of some arena with a white seamless and lights and stands and everything I need to get what my client wants. But literally right next to that white seamless in the space that I set up is this beautiful, perfect, soft light. That was how I got those pictures. Nothing fancy, no wild and crazy technology. This is at a basketball camp, and I wasn't there to photograph this kid, but he had a great look. He was there, and he had his hood on, and he had those amazing eyes. And I said, oh, just come stand here for 2 minutes. And I got a beautiful picture, and that's on my website. It's a promo card. This for And One. Again, I had to shoot product and guys in product, and I'm not getting any work from those shots. So I go in and I say, this is a cool space. Okay, we have the setup right here. Now just stand right over there. And that's how you get those pictures. All right, we come to number 8. Do the extra setup. Once you get really comfortable with what you're doing, take the time to actually make that personal project official. You don't have to sneak in 14 seconds. Maybe you take like 3 minutes to do that extra setup. So this was a project I did with AT&T for their music series. And again, Drake on white. Great, I'm not getting any commercial work from Drake on white. But they like that project, so they hire me to shoot All Time Low. And I say, okay guys, we got what we need on the white. You're over there. Why don't you just come stand over there with the windows behind you? And the client says, oh yeah, that's sort of a cool picture. We're trying to target a young audience. Maybe we'll do some shots like that next time. So I shoot Tiny Tempa, who was next on their list. And they say, Jen, let's do the stuff on white kind of fast, and then let's do some other cool stuff. So I do this, and this, and this, which these are in my portfolio, and these are on my website, not the stuff on white, because I have shot pretty much everyone in the world on white, and they're not really that exciting. So again, take the extra time to do that setup. If I hadn't done that for the first music act, All Time Low, if I hadn't said, guys, just stand right here, the client wouldn't have realized that that was a possibility, because someone somewhere up their food chain said, yeah, we need them on white. Yeah, you do need them on white, but how about this stuff too? So then, same thing with Gym Class Heroes and Lupe Fiasco and Jason Derulo. And that brings us to, I think we're up to number 9. Use your personal work to get better work. And I consider all of those shots not on white as my personal work, because the client didn't tell me shoot that guy in the stairwell, and he didn't say go outside into that sort of gritty yard and see what you can get with Lupe. Those were pictures that I actually wanted to take, so I did take them. And those are the ones that I used to get my better work. The snowboarders that I shot like early on, Nike sees them. Oh, Jen, we have this all-women snowboard thing up in upstate New York. Do you want to come shoot that for us? Yeah, sure, that would be great.
What do you mean Nike sees them? Do you send them to Nike, or they just happen to see them?
A little bit of both, and again, we go back to you never know where they're going to see them, how they're going to see them. I don't know if they were on my blog, on my website. They get my emails from jen@potheiser.com, so then they sort of know that my website is potheiser.com. It's all sort of intertwined, because you never know. So I use that music work, and I go to the ASMP Portfolio review. I don't know how many of you are ASMP members, but I strongly suggest, strongly recommend becoming a member. If it's the only thing you do as an ASMP member, they have a portfolio review for commercial work that is just a dream team of art directors and ad agency people, and they have a similar one for creative portfolio review and fine art portfolio review. And I go to that portfolio review as an ASMP member, and I show them the shots of Jason Derulo, and they say, oh, yeah, these are kind of nice. And how long did you have with him? Well, that was about 4 minutes. And they say, oh, well, then you might be able to work with us. So I shoot Carrie Underwood and B.O.B. and Joe Walsh of the Eagles. That's a good segue to make sure you are having your pictures seen. And that one is a challenge. You really, you can do your best and you just hope for the best. Early on, I didn't have a logo. I don't even know if I had a website at this point, but I got hired to do some event stuff at the US Open. And then another client called and said, oh, can you do some event stuff for us? Okay, sure. And I make up this little promo and off it goes. And then they think I'm a photographer. And I do one from some of the NBA stuff that I've shot. And I do another promo with a project I did for Penguin. And this one, I guess I actually had a website by that point. I still don't have a logo. I don't have a designer doing my cards, but I'm playing that I'm a photographer part. And I have my promo cards out there, and I'm sending them to targeted audiences. And then I did a pretty huge campaign with the NBA called There Can Only Be One, and it won all kinds of awards and sort of was kind of my big stepping stone in terms of career. But for whatever reason, I still hadn't hired a designer to do my promo cards, but I at least did them, and I sent that off to tons of people that I wanted to work for, and they all said, wow, Jen, you did that campaign, and I had. And then I actually had a designer when I could afford one that did my promo card, and that's what I send out to people. It's quick, it's easy, it has my phone number, it has my website, and that's what I want people to see. And if I'm sending it to sports-related people, then they get a shot with Anthony Davis. And I was sending it to some business magazines that really wouldn't care about Anthony Davis. So then I send an executive portrait that is a little bit offbeat, that is appropriate. But I try not to waste anyone's time. If they're taking the time to look at my work, I want to have it be appropriate for what they're doing at. And these always evolve. You see those boring white cards that I started as my promos, but I had a promo, and I was acting like I was a photographer before I perhaps was one. Send them to everyone you meet. I don't mean everyone, but if you're at an ASMP gathering and there's an art buyer there whose work you think would be appropriate for you, save their card, start a list, keep some sort of catalog of all of these people that you come in contact with, and that's who gets these promos, because that's who you want to hire you. Again, we come back to my dog stuff. Do books. This was I needed a personal project. I did an ABC book on my dog. And do I show it to art buyers? No. But when I do volunteer work, that's the book that comes with me. And people are impressed that a volunteer has a book. And, oh, wow, you're the photographer. And again, you don't know who you're going to meet. So you're best to be prepared. So again, there's nothing fancy. I didn't have a lot of money to spend on this, but I did a book, and I have something tangible. And again, we just saw that video, but do videos. People like to see what's going on. This is from an NHL shoot that I did. So we'll take a minute to watch this one.
2010 Player Media Tour. This is the photography aspect, shot by Jennifer Miles.
Chin down just a little bit. Right shoulder around towards the backdrop. Chin around just try to relax your eyes. We're going baby face for these.
At this shoot, we are gathering content for Hockey Fights Cancer, shopped on NHL.com, NHL Marketing, as well as NHL PR.
Let's do both hands on your right leg. So back just a little bit. Yeah. You didn't even have to ask for that smile. Your cheeks are automatically down. Open up your right shoulder towards me, just a hair. Tiny bit to the right. You're pro at this. You're getting cross your arms over your chest. Good. All right, to the other direction. Perfect. That's a wrap, my dear.
So the question was, so you hire somebody to do that? Yeah, and it's well worth the couple $100. For that one, actually, I think we all know that just about anyone shoots video nowadays. Pretty much anyone is a photographer. So for that, one of my assistants was trying to break into video, so he assisted me for the day. He was thrilled that he was getting paid to assist, and then he shot the video, and then I had an editor cut the piece. So not all personal work evolves into covers or anything especially exciting, but you're directing, you're producing, you're meeting people. I did a short summer project on women farmers of New Jersey, and I had a fun time doing it. I had the best food ever. I would come home from these shoots with blueberries and peaches, and I mean, it was worth it for that reason alone. So it isn't always about the cover. It's about getting off your couch. It's about taking pictures and practicing and doing something that you want to do instead of work that someone is telling you to do. So now we're looking at personal project I did this past summer, and it was Olympic moms, and probably about 5 years ago I first got the idea, and we'll kind of circle back to that, but these were women who were competing in London this summer, but were also moms. And thus far, I've made the assumption that you know how to do a personal project. And I don't know that there's definitely not one way to do it, but this was the way that I chose to do it. I went to the USOC website and I looked at all of the sports. There were a lot of sports that I didn't even know existed. And I sent them an intro letter. And I have my website, and I have my email address, and I have promo cards, and I have samples of my work. So I've kind of built up to this point to actually be sort of legitimate. And I send out this email to all of these public relations teams at the different sports. So women's volleyball and rowing, and each sport got a letter with a dear whomever. And I talk to them about what I want to do, and you can take a minute to read it. But according to the USOC, this past summer, over a dozen moms hope to join the remarkable group of women who are juggling motherhood with the demands of training for the Olympics. Included in this sorority are some very diverse moms, and these were some of the moms that I knew about. There was not a lot of press on any of this. I tried to do my research, but we couldn't come up with too much. But told the PR directors what I was asking for, and gave them websites and said, contact me. Then we go for specific teams and say, is there anyone on your team that qualifies? We don't want to waste our time if we're sending out these real fancy letters if there's no one on their team that's appropriate. I'll show you a quick video. Now sound will be perfect, and this was the intro video.
Go! Go! Keep going, keep going!
I was 37 when I had Giuliani. I spent the whole time that I was pregnant thinking about the fact that 4 weeks after I was supposed to give birth to him were going to be the Pan American trials.
Coming back from having a baby is one of the scariest things. The coaches didn't think that I would be able to do it.
My first 2 weeks back from having Ian, I was in here like sometimes twice a day. I was doing ice baths.
I think a lot of people still think volleyball is a hobby and not a real job.
Typically every day, my warm-up takes from 45 minutes to an hour.
I had said to my husband from the beginning that if I was going to play, that I would have my kids with me.
My name is Danielle Scotta Huda.
Laura Kraut.
Candace Parker.
Taiba Hanif Park.
Kelly Smith Puzo.
Katuna Lorik. Mickey Kelly.
Lashonda Demas, American record holder in the 400-meter hurdles.
Are you trying to email it to me?
What you doing? A, B, C, D.
Shani. I am a mom.
I am a mom.
I am a mom.
I am a mom.
I'm a mom.
I am a mom.
I am a mom.
This is my mom.
Go USA!
That was my Olympic Moms project. That's just a little snippet of my Olympic Moms project. But as I started to say, this project was not something I could have done as my first personal project. I wouldn't have had the credibility to show up at an Olympic host committee at Candace Parker's house and say like, hi, I'm here. I wouldn't have had the right gear. I wouldn't have had batteries charged. I wouldn't have known what to do. But I first thought about this story quite a few years earlier when I was on a commercial job and Lisa Leslie was 3 weeks back to playing professional basketball after she had had her daughter. And I was like, that is just crazy. I wonder how many other women are that crazy. And I couldn't do the project at that point, but it kind of always stuck around in my head. At that point, when I thought about doing prior to London, I said, oh, I don't have the money, I can't afford this. I came up with every single excuse in the book. And I finally just said, this is a cool project. I think it's really interesting. I want to tell these stories. But you don't know if anyone else is going to think it's interesting, and you don't know if these moms are going to say, are you out of your mind? It's 2 months before the Olympics. I'm not spending a day with a photographer. I had come from a world of, oh yeah, it's a long shoot. You have 8 minutes to photograph, Carmelo Anthony. And that was kind of my frame of reference. But we sent out those form letters, and within an hour, Mickey Kelly said, oh, I'll take part. And we said, really? You'll do this project? And we spent 17 hours with her. And when I tell you she didn't stop for that entire day, she was training for modern pentathlon and went from sport to breastfeeding to a different sport. I mean, it was astounding. We were with Lashonda Demas on an off day. It was July 4th, and she said, yeah, sure, I'll meet you. I kind of think the project is cool. And in my head, I'm saying, it's July 4th. You're going to meet us. We're nobody. We don't know what we're doing with these pictures. And they just somehow said yes. And I think that was because these women were really passionate about their sport and about being moms. And because I had kind of proven myself up to that point that I could be trusted to have access to these women. Again, we did this on our own dime in between all of our other work. We were in Pennsylvania, Colorado, Maryland. We shot 5 moms in 6 days in California. We went to her July 4th picnic with about 70 people, and it was amazing. I mean, every single minute of it was amazing. And we just, I hate to use the Nike reference, although I'm very thankful for my relationship with Nike. You just have to do it, and you have to get up off the couch and just do the projects.
So you funded it all yourself, all the travel and all
Yes, and I stayed in hotels that I don't traditionally stay in when I'm on business trips, and I rented the little dinky car, and you know, we did a lot of meals at Whole Foods, and the free breakfast in the hotel never looked so good, but we did it. And let me show you this quick video.
I am an athlete. I am a mom. One of the things that I found challenging when I came back to the national team after having my second child was figuring out how to balance the priorities. Obviously, having 2 young kids has to be your #1 priority, but in an Olympic year and being an athlete on a very competitive team and fighting for a spot on that Olympic team, you know, you have to put that into very high regard. It has to be near the top of your priority list, and that was something that was very difficult for me. I had a lot of guilt as a mom that I wasn't breastfeeding him long enough, and so I really waited up until the very last minute to stop breastfeeding. The first week or 2 of practice, when your body is trying to absorb the excess milk, was terribly painful, and nobody understands what you're going through, and you're trying to do everything that they're doing, and your body is just reacting in a whole different capacity. I just remember thinking, there's no way I'm going to make it. And as a top athlete, knowing that a year ago this would have been maybe an easy workout, and now you're just struggling to finish, that can be a breaking moment for a lot of elite athletes. I actually tried to quit over the phone to my husband the end of December. When I first went back to the team, I just thought, I need to be with my kids. We can't afford to do this. The kids need me. He said, those are wrong answers. Don't blame the kids. Don't blame money. I was too stubborn to say I physically can't keep up. And I couldn't confidently say that I didn't want it either. Prior to having children, I had a very difficult time letting the game go. Now that I have a family, the minute it's over and the minute you walk through the gates and you exit the field, you're looking at your kids who say, Mommy, I want to go to the playground. And it kind of brings back what's important in life. I'm very ready for London. Just having the 2 boys and my husband, as well as my mom and dad in the stands, is going to be just extra special.
So you got the advertisement out of putting it on Facebook, or did it turn into a paying component?
Very good question. Brings us to, I think we're up to number 11. Keep in touch with the people you meet. I sort of said this before. That list that you're starting of every person that you've ever met when you go to the ASMP free beers night, keep those business cards, start an Excel sheet, start an app, I don't know, do something, but save that information. Olympic moms, while we did it all on my dime, I was pitching it the whole process through. I was pitching it to ESPNW, I was pitching it to commercials, I was pitching it anywhere and everywhere, because I thought it was a great story, and I thought these women were amazing and remarkable, and I knew that someone else would think that too. What I did not know is that advertising dollars for the Olympics were spent in like 2009 for 2012. So that was a little bit frustrating. But because I had kept in touch with the people that I had met, I was able to get a feature in the Huffington Post magazine. And that connection was from ASMP Meet the Art Directors. I did some work for the woman when she was at a magazine. She left that magazine. I kept in touch with her, and they were doing an Olympics issue and said, we love it, let's do it. Did I make any money? No, but what I have made from this personal project, I could never put a value on. I got a call, actually I lie, it was an email. I got an email from another person I met at the ASMP meeting, and they said, oh, you working on any interesting projects? And I said, actually, yes. There's this Olympic Moms thing, very timely. Great, send us the content. We'll think about putting it in the magazine. I didn't know it was going to be on the cover. I didn't know that PDN EDU was going to evolve into an icon meet and greet at the photo show. I didn't know that doing Olympic Moms was going to get a mention in the Washington Post. I didn't know that it was going to wind up on the NPR photo blog. Everyone always said you need to be working on personal projects, and I was like, but I am. I wasn't doing anything of this scope. So it was very much an evolution, but all of these steps I had done so that when it came time, I could take all that I had learned in my commercial work and put it back into that personal project. And it is really a big circle. So I had kept in touch with those people, and when I needed for them to look at my personal work, I knew who to call. And none of this happens if I am number 3 at home on the couch. It doesn't. It's impossible. So Olympic Moms happens, and I had done work with the New Jersey Nets before. They're now the Brooklyn Nets, and they say, hey Jen, we saw that stuff on your website or on your Facebook page or somewhere, but do you want to come do some behind the scenes stuff of the Nets? And I'm saying, okay, sure, but you never let women in the locker room or anywhere. But they did, and that was an awesome commercial job that I don't think ever would have happened if it weren't for the Olympic Moms. Which brings us to our 12th step. You need to shoot, you need to market, you need to shoot, and you need to market some more. And you need to keep in touch with those people you've met, and you need to make sure that they are seeing the picture that you've taken, and they need to do you need to do just about every one of those things, or at least those are the 12 that I've done.
Do you blog?
I do blog. I could probably be faulted for my lack of Facebook presence and for not being on Twitter. It's just a personal thing. I don't know if everyone heard the question. It was if I blog. I don't particularly like talking about myself, and I don't particularly like talking about the people who I photograph, oftentimes because they're people who don't want to be in the public eye any more than they already are. So I've kind of done my own version of that.
They've given permission to be, I mean, all these people gave you permission to photograph, right? So.
Absolutely, but that doesn't mean that, you know, Mr. Kardashian, we'll call him, Chris Humphries of the Nets, that he wants to be on my Twitter page, and I'm not going to do that to my commercial client who doesn't want those pictures on Twitter. So I sort of have just decided, yet not so much. I'm sure that will change, but at the moment, I just feel like it has the potential for too many conflicts of interest. So I'd like to give, this is the conclusion of my official presentation, but a special thanks to Debbie Gilbert at B&H and the whole B&H team, and Jean Mopsick at ASMP. They have been a tremendous supporter, and I'm a big fan of what they do. This is my contact info. I would definitely like to open it up for questions, and I've left a good amount of time for questions. But if you have specific things that you think of after the fact, or if you'd like to email me with questions or thoughts after the fact, by all means. I can't promise how quickly I will get back to you, but I pretty much always do. So let's open it up for questions. Go ahead. So the question is if I plan on doing a book on the Olympic Moms. I'm actually going to do an Olympic Moms book that I show when I show my portfolio. I didn't feel like I could do an Olympic moms book and diss the winter moms. So have a little bit more time to wait before we start tackling winter moms. But I definitely am gonna pursue doing a book of the summer and winter Olympic moms. And now that I kind of know the way that Olympic money works, we are gonna pitch doing the winter moms as a much more official project. I think I'm gonna do it whether I get paid or not, but I think there was a pretty big campaign. I don't remember what company did it, but they did Moms of Olympians, which I was like, really? That's cool, but what about the moms who are Olympians? And I just felt like that's the story. So I didn't know this until I started working on the project, but the Olympics are kind of weird in that you can train for 3.5 years and you may not find out until 3 weeks before whether you're actually on the Olympic team. So we did encounter some of that with the moms, and the month of July we were like, okay, is this swimmer gonna make the team? And you can't really do too much in advance. We're gonna do as much production work in advance as we can, and then hopefully shoot winter moms and then do a book. So if you know any publishers, let me know. Yes?
Who are you a fan of other photographers? What work do you like?
So the question is, what other photographers do I admire? I'm not really too picky. I'm a magazine hound. Originally, when I was first starting out, I loved, still do, Mary Ellen Mark. Loved her work, and I didn't really go that direction. I'm not really too picky. Annie Leibovitz, Mark Seliger. There's a great project out now that I got in my ASMP newsletter. I apologize that I don't remember the artist's name, but they did a series on veterans coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm always looking at who the photographer is and checking the small print, sometimes the larger print. I think there's so much good content out there and so many good places to see it that I'm not really too picky.
How do you join ASMP? Is it, what do you need to join?
Sure. Question is, how do you join ASMP? You go to ASMP's website, and you need to be sponsored. And that means just knowing another member of ASMP, which if you know any other photographers, which now you do, hi, I'm Jen. Susan. Then you are pretty much eligible. I think there are other sort of technical requirements that you are a working photographer. There's ASMP memberships open to students. I did not know anyone in ASMP when I first started, so I'm not that well seasoned, but in retrospect, I cannot believe that someone somewhere along the way didn't tell me to join, because that gathering of art directors and curators is really just, you wait in line to show your book and you go from table to table, and the feedback is not always what you want to hear necessarily.
Do you do it digitally, or you have to, your
Oh, you can bring in whatever you want. I have a tangible book, so I bring in my book, but plenty of people have iPads and clamshell cases, and
Where do they hold it? Conveniently,
it
New York?
is in New York. I'm a member of the New York and New Jersey chapter. I'm sure they do it other places for some reason. I also get the Minneapolis newsletter. I'm not sure why, but they're always doing things as well. And I think it's just a great resource. I don't know about all of you. I don't have too many photographer friends that I can chat with because everyone's always worried that I'm stealing their clients and they're worried that I'm stealing their clients. And it's a great place to be able to go and just say, hey, I was thinking about this new lens, what do you think? And you know, instead of sitting around talking football or, you know, having your book club, it's sort of like a little photo club. Yep.
While you're shooting people and people ask, can you email me picture? What do you do?
So the question is, if people ask if I can email them pictures.
Yeah, like it's different, like portraits, it's like your personal involved, but like events. So what do you do?
That is a great question, and it really varies greatly depending on the circumstances. It depends on the client. The Olympic moms will pick that. Katuna Lorig says, she was the archer. She says, oh, can you send me some pictures? I want to post them on my website. Okay, sure. Can you do me a favor? Can you link that back to the Olympic moms page? Okay, sort of nothing to lose there. I'm not sending her full res files that she's gonna do an archery campaign with. I include in there a note that says these are low res files for personal use. Feel free to post them on your Facebook page. And I'm pretty comfortable with that. If someone comes up to me at an event, say when I'm working for a commercial client and they say, oh, can you email me that picture that you took of me and Patrick Ewing? Okay, sure, give me your card. And then usually what I'll do is I'll hand that to the person that I'm working for that is gonna get the pictures, because I know that gets a little sensitive, that they don't want the photographer communicating with the client, and there's weird politics. So it really just depends. Maybe I'm lucky, I don't really know. I've never had anyone use my images inappropriately. Maybe I'm lucky, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty comfortable in, if someone has done something for me, for example, one of the Olympic moms, and one of the moms, Mickey Kelly, wanted to make her husband a coffee mug for Father's Day. Yeah, sure, whatever you want. I spent 18 hours with you. Like, it's the least I can do. So I try to do it. I try to do it in a timely fashion, because again, you don't know when she says to her, you know, her rep for her clothing line, oh yeah, I had this great shoot today. This woman was so nice. Okay, well maybe then I can work with that company. You never know where they're coming from. So, sure, go ahead.
As a professional photographer, in hindsight, is there anything in your education or business practices that now as a professional you wish you would have done different?
Wow, that's a good question. Is there anything I wish that I would have done differently in my professional career? I should have joined ASMP a lot earlier. Honestly, I'd like to confidently say no. I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason, and you just use whatever path is laid down before you and kind of use that to your advantage. I went to a very traditional liberal arts university. I went to Duke, which is known for their basketball, but certainly not known for their photography. And I was interested in photography in college, and I was involved in the yearbook, and I took all 3 photo classes that were offered there. And everyone said, well, why don't you just transfer to FIT or SVA? And I said, well, no, that would just sort of be silly. How could I turn down my education? I feel like photography I can kind of learn as I go. And I will say that is one thing that I am tremendously thankful that I chose to stay on that path.
Have a documentary study of Duke?
You know what? That is a great question. They have become tremendously well known for their Center for Documentary Studies. That was just starting. Unfortunately, it was just starting when I left, because I would have loved to have been a part of that. Those were the 3 classes that I took through the Center for Documentary Studies. But I I did photo classes through ICP, and I'll still look through the ICP catalog and say, oh, is there a good class that I'd like to take? That's where I learned how to shoot 4x5. And I did an intensive at Maine photographic workshops. And I assisted for a really, really long time. And I feel like all of those things made up the best photo education I could have ever gotten. I wouldn't take away that English degree for all the money in the world. So yeah, I'd like to think that I don't have too many regrets. In the back.
When you do your personal projects, do you get model releases? Because there was that one where you just kind of turned off to the side, the guy was in the wheelchair with the dog. Did
Yep.
you then run after and be like, hey, can you do this?
Great question. Do I get model releases? There's an app for that. I should get that app, but I don't have it. I got model releases for my Olympic Moms project because I had a very specific, I want to do something more with this. That CCI event, I was there just kind of because some of my friends and their dogs were there. I had no intent of those pictures ever winding up anywhere. So no, I didn't get a model release. In that kind of confined scenario, we knew how to get to that gentleman because of his affiliation with the organization. I don't, as a rule, have one that I rip out of my pocket, but I do need to get that app because there's no reason not to have a release.
You're doing a lot of pro bono work. How do you make your money? How do you pay the mortgage? What are you not telling us that you're doing?
What I'm not telling you, the question is,
Sugar daddy.
you know what, I wish that were the case. My husband's a photographer too, so definitely not. The question is, what am I not saying? How does this all happen? I do a lot of volunteer work. I do a lot of promotional work. I work all the time. My husband teases me that it's 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night and I have my laptop because there is always something that needs to be done. I would argue that that is not unique to photography, that is the nature of being self-employed. And if you have a t-shirt company at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night, you're working. Thankfully, I like what I do. The alternative to me is having a desk job, and I would rather work 100 hours a week being a self-employed photographer than work 40 at a desk. I work really hard, and I follow those 12 steps. I can go back to them, but I'm always doing one of these, always. And it's kind of crazy. If you could do all of them and never pick up a camera. So that's the challenge, is that, oh, after your marketing and doing your Excel spreadsheets of the people you meet and having a personal project, you have to take pictures, and that kind of gets lost sometimes. But that's why you work a lot. I had a, yeah, full confession, yesterday I watched football for about 4 hours. I don't know that I've ever done that. But I was a waitress for a really, really, really long time. But again, we're talking about what do you think you would have done differently? Do you have any regrets? I'm really thankful that I waitressed for a really long time, because you get to read people in ways that you never anticipated, and you respond to that chin of like, hey, I need you, which works well when you're doing event photography, and you just get to read people's body language, which is imperative being a photographer. So I haven't waitressed in a lot of years. And hopefully won't be waitressing again anytime soon. But I mean, I remember thinking after that slam cover, oh, I'm here, it's easy street. It doesn't work like that. I mean, I will be doing this for the rest of my professional career. You have to, because there's somebody else who is if you're not. So, go ahead.
Or can you talk more about the marketing stuff? Because I feel like that's the gig, regarding what programs you use, what applications you use, anything, whether it's, you said not Facebook, not Twitter, do you go through MailChimp, do you do Constant Contact?
Sure.
All that stuff.
The question is, what kind of marketing do you do? I'm the daughter of, my parents were both in the financial business and they owned their own company. So when I was growing up, I would help them put stamps on their Christmas cards. And I would see my dad bring a special food that he knew one of his clients liked when he had a meeting with one of them. So I am really, really old school. Again, I don't know how many of you are working photography professionals or working professionals in general. My clients get personalized Christmas cards. If they're a paying client, they get personalized Christmas gifts. I know that I give out a lot of work subbing out to other photographers, like a lot of work. I did not get a gift from one of those photographers. Not that I'm looking for a gift, but if one of them had sent me a gift, I would have remembered, oh, Bob sent me that nice bottle of wine. Oh, hey, Bob, I need a second shooter. Are you around? So I'm really old school. It worked for my dad. It worked for hundreds of years before him. I have a subscription to AdBase, which, for those of you who don't know, is a list of pretty much every publication and advertising agency in the US and Canada, and their art buyers and their art directors. And I have a subscription, and you can do mass emails through AdBase. I don't want to do mass emails through AdBase and be one of 8,000 other emails coming through and just wind up in the delete folder. So I keep in touch with the people I meet. Literally, I have like a 15-page Excel spreadsheet from when I did that slam cover of every single person that has given me their card or I have done business with. And they get a quarterly, say, promo saying, hey, Lisa, hope you're doing well. It's been a while since we worked on that project at Sports Illustrated. Here's a new promo. Check out the new website, and there's a cool iHeart video on my site.
Promo,
We'll go back.
Like a card or a video or
Usually, I don't want to bombard people with videos, so my most recent promo is this one, is Anthony Davis.
And it's a card.
It's an email file. I also have hard copies, but I don't tangibly mail quarterly. But I don't feel like a timeline, like, oh, it's been 4 months, I need to send one. It's like, oh, this is a cool thing, I think this client would like it, I have something new on my website, I should send it. It takes forever. By the time I'm done sending out Anthony Davis promo cards, it will be June, and I'll have a new batch to send. But the success rate I have is like off the charts, because I'm contacting people who I've met before, who I've dealt with before, who it's an appropriate correspondence to have. I'm not overwhelming people's inboxes with crap.
Literally an attachment.
Yes.
Photograph attached.
Yes.
No, okay.
With a mail merge, how did you get it to personalize for each person without copy and pasting?
I copy and I paste, and it takes forever. But you can do something really half-assed.
And then you just do it to yourself and then non-disclosed.
No.
And then to everybody. Hi.
No.
Never.
Dear Lisa. The email address is to Lisa. Then when I'm done with Lisa, I do Steve. Dear Steve. It takes forever, but it works. Lisa responds. The art director that I bombarded with the email blast that 8,000 people got the same one, they don't respond. It goes in their spam folder. This is, hey, hope you had a good summer. How's your daughter? Like, it's about relationships. I want to hire people I know. They want to hire people they know. So it's sending out, I spend so much freaking money on Christmas gifts for my clients, but it's a thank you. They could hire anyone, but they choose to hire me, and I'm appreciative of that. It's a bottle of wine. It's something that came up at a shoot that we did. It's another way for me to engage them. So again, I wish I had a real easy do this and it'll be done, but it's good old-fashioned grassroots, take your time marketing. And with that, it's also those 12 steps that email promo is coming from my potheiser.com account.
What was your point about that, as opposed to an email or?
So if my email address is jpotheiser@gmail, nobody knows what my website is. It says you're sending an email to someone and it has Gmail attached to it. You're giving pub to Gmail. If it comes from jen@potheiser.com, quite obvious my website address is potheiser.com. People know where to go look for me. And for me, I didn't come up with this on my own. I was using my AOL account for a long time, and a well-known photographer emailed me and said, "What in the world are you doing using your AOL account?" And I said, "Oh, I get emails that way." And he said, "Why?" I don't know. I didn't ever really think about it. Well, now it is the most glaringly obvious thing ever. If I'm contacting a business and they have an AOL or a Gmail address, I'm saying, well, that's sort of a shady business. And nothing against AOL or Gmail, they do their jobs quite well, but if I'm hiring a contractor and he has a Gmail address, or
You put your website, I always put my website under my name, I sign it and then put my website.
But why would you not have it in your response? Let me ask you a question. If you're hiring a chef, or you're going to
My website is not the name of
Right, that's the same issue. I'm
not
not sure
everybody
what
has
you mean. It's the same,
has a website.
it's a different title.
Why is that?
Your website is.
My website is potheiser.com. My email address is jen@potheiser.com. I can't.
You could do your name, photography, and
Whatever your website address is, you should be able to make that a mail or an info at or a, You know what? I said that too, and I was like, oh, I have to change my email, except now people think I'm legit. If you're going to go out to a restaurant.
I'm on a website and everything is connected to my email.
Yeah, but you can funnel them all in. There's ways to do automatic forwarding. But the thing is that if you forward it to your Gmail account, you're going to have problems. What you need to do is forward your Gmail account back over to your new account.
That I can't speak to. What I can speak to is that it takes a long time to get people to stop using your Gmail, to stop using your AOL, but eventually they.
I know my kids are like, why are you using AOL?
But not dissing AOL, just in terms of image. Do you want to go to a restaurant that is www.shaycatherine.com? We'll pick that as a good restaurant in the town that I live in. So you want to contact the catering manager, and it's a Gmail address. I'm saying, oh, that's sort of weird. Does she actually work there? Do they actually have a catering department? This seems a little shady. If it were Lisa@shaycatherine.com, I don't think twice about it. She's the head of their catering sales. It's just one of those little things that is, I think, indicative of the part that you're playing. So, did I answer your question in a very convoluted way? Okay. You know what? Hang on for 1 second. I appreciate the question. Let me make sure I get to everyone's first one first. Yes, go ahead.
Have you ever applied for a grant or a fellowship for your personal projects?
Have I ever applied for a grant or fellowship for my personal project? No. I will probably do it for winter moms. Summer Olympic moms really happened like in fast forward. I had always thought about doing it. I was like being sort of, I don't know, I'm not getting paid, blah, blah, blah. And it was, I think those emails were from April, and all of a sudden it was like, we need to make flights, we need to figure out how we're doing 6 moms in 6 days in California, and there wasn't really time. I need to, and I will for the next go around. Yes, go ahead.
Do you ever enter any of your personal project work in competitions, and what do you think about that strategy in general?
Sure. The question is, do I ever enter my personal work in competitions? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, and that isn't just unique to my personal work, it's just work in general. There isn't an official, I'm going to do 6 contests a year. It isn't, I'm going to spend $300 a year. It's kind of like PDN is having their photo annual. I think the expiration date is the end of January. If I get my act together, I'll probably send something the night before. I think contests work sometimes if the right people see them. Bless you. I don't think you have anything to lose except maybe $35. I wouldn't spend hundreds and hundreds, but if there's something you're really passionate about that you think is really spot on for that contest, then absolutely. Yep, go ahead.
Do you work completely alone through like the whole process of the shoot, beginning the shoot and then after the shoot?
So question is, do I work entirely by myself? I spend a lot of time working by myself, and I do a lot on my own. On a commercial assignment, I almost always have the budget to have people with me. So young photographers who are assistants and are essentially apprentices. So I will have them with me. If the budget allows, hair and makeup and wardrobe. If the budget allows, producer. And it really, I'm used to working at every budget level, and I appreciate that clients have budgets, so I'm not going to say I will not do this project unless I can, have a producer. That isn't me, and it isn't really how the industry works. So I do a lot of team efforts, and sort of with that, I'm a big believer that you need to have a good team, otherwise you don't have a good end product. I was fortunate enough while I was waitressing early on to also be assisting, and I apprenticed with Bruce Weber, who is a world-renowned fashion photographer, and I was his 5th assistant on set. So pretty low down on the totem pole, but he gave us a pep talk one day about he might have been the lead singer in his band, but without his drummer and without his guitar player and without the roadies, he was pretty useless. And I use that analogy all the time because it is so true. I don't understand photographers who are divas and make their assistants eat at a separate table, or who treat their team members like crap, because really, if I piss off my makeup artist, what good does that do me? If I send a thank you note to my team for busting their butts after a 16-hour day, they love me. And I'm not doing it so that they love me, but I genuinely appreciate their efforts. Silly things, I don't know where this rule got written, but it's a pretty horrific one and apparently pretty widespread. But when I finish a job, I pay my crew. That's just how I work. I'm done with the job. I don't really have room in my brain to think about it anymore. I want to pay people and be done. And I have another job tomorrow, and let's just move on. Well, my assistants let it slip out that a lot of photographers wait until they get paid before they pay their people. And I was like, hello? How does that work? I don't really understand. It's not your fault that the photographers wait 6 weeks to bill, and then you have to wait another 90 days before Verizon does their payment. That makes no sense. And we all have to eat, I understand that, but it probably, that $150 or $250 for the day probably means a lot more to your crew than it does to you. So pay your people, keep them happy, and do your billing on time, and you'll get paid in a timely fashion, and all is good in the world. But work with a good team because they make you better. I'm not embarrassed to say that. If I hire a great assistant who I know is great on set with my clients and is, not going to be hungover for our 6 a.m. call time, my job is a lot easier. So.
And on the sort of the final end of editing and photoshopping and getting it back to the client quickly, you do that yourself, or?
Again, varies greatly by budget and turnaround time. Sometimes I have a retoucher on site that is retouching as we are shooting, and we need this shot released for press release within 2 hours. And then it's, can you get me the content by next Tuesday? And my hope is always, well, let's get it to them as soon as possible because something else is going to come up between now and next Tuesday. I need to keep them happy.
Do you use Lightroom or any of the other tools to control your inventory or to do work on top of?
Sure. The question is, do I use Lightroom or what software do I use to control my inventory? Could probably be a lot better about that. I am in the midst of researching a digital asset management program. I have not found the perfect one yet. So I do use Lightroom. My techs will use Lightroom. I use Bridge. I use Photoshop. Sort of a potpourri of different softwares. And I think it just depends on what you get accustomed to using. Hang on one sec. Yep, go ahead.
To that, then what do you use for your billing?
My billing I do in Word. Yeah, again, there's a million different ways to do things. I do my billing in Word and my files are backed up, but it's billed, paid. It's not that I don't have a PhD in business management, but it works. And I'm sure there are, again, I have accounting software that I could do my billing through, but what I do works, so I'm not, quick to change just for the sake of latest and greatest.
You
Sure.
say photographer, and when I'm looking at putting out my new card, I would put fine art, events, portrait, wedding. Is there an advantage or disadvantage? You have just one word.
So, great question. You're doing a promo card. Do you write Jack of all trades or master? Again, it depends on what image you want to paint. I no longer I did weddings early on when I was trying to get out of waitressing, and loved weddings. It's not for me to do full time, but once I decided to make a commitment to being a full-time commercial photographer, I got rid of my wedding site because art directors and high-end clients don't want you to be doing weddings. It's an image thing. I'm a big believer that you're better off being a master of one than a jack of all trades. I think if your clients know that you will do anything for them, then that's a good thing. But to market yourself as a master of everything, I don't think from a business standpoint is necessarily the best way to go. For example, I have a great relationship with the United States Tennis Association, and they know that what I market myself to do is portrait work and people. But during the US Open, if they need an event shot, they call me because they know I'm going to show up on time, they know I'm going to do a good job, they know I'm not going to care that it's John McEnroe. But that isn't on my website because that isn't what I want to be. So I will do it, and my clients know that I will do it for them, but that isn't the work I'm trying to get. So I would think about the work that you want to try and get, and then be that.
So when you say photographer and we're here to see commercial work, what is the scope of your commercial work besides the fact that you're so flexible? Can you give me
I market myself to work with athletes, and that was initially what I did, and it's now, because of the music work that I've done, it's athletes, celebrities, and entertainers. So
that's what your site reflects then?
yes, that is what is on my site. When I am meeting arbitrarily with a photo editor at Bloomberg News, I'm saying, if I can shoot LeBron James in 4 minutes, then I can shoot your CEO in 4 minutes. And I don't care that your CEO makes $8 billion, and I'm not going to piss him off, and I'm going to come dressed appropriately, and I'm going to do my homework, and I'm going to know what to talk to him about. That's my sales pitch. I'm not saying, oh, I did this wedding last Sunday, and I dealt with the bride, so I can deal with your CEO. And that may work for some people, but I thankfully have done the work and have the work to reflect that I can shoot your CEO in 4 minutes. Yes?
Do you find the market has changed since, I don't know when you started shooting, but I mean, so many magazines are just no longer, for commercial work. Magazine work is no more.
Have I found that the market has changed? It's changed, but I don't know that it's any better or worse.
Are you shooting for the web, or are you shooting, these are all print stuff that you're doing?
I'm shooting, I like to think about it that I'm shooting it for my client, and however they would like to use it is up to them. So if Verizon calls me and they want me to do portraits of their executive, I will gladly do portraits of their executive. You can do whatever you'd like with them. I'll give you small, medium, and large JPEGs. I think people kind of get hung up on that the industry's terrible, there's no more magazines. That might be true, but there are also a lot of places that need content so that you can pitch your personal projects there. Every single town just about has a local newspaper or a zip code website. My sister lives in Maryland. They have 20817. They have a patch. They all need content. So is it different? Absolutely. But I don't think it's, any worse. Yep.
I wanted to go back to the pitching stories. Like when you were talking about the bike story in upstate New York.
Yep.
Do you have to write that stuff too? Or just
No. I will write I'll write like a little pitch letter. So if similar to my Olympic moms, this is where my traditional college education came in handy. I write a very tight letter as to what I want to do, what I think is good about the project, what I think makes it appropriate to the place that I'm pitching. And sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't. But if you...
Just pitching the photography side of it though.
Exactly. I'm sending... Exactly.
Okay.
Sometimes for Olympic moms, it was also video. But in general, I'm sending them a very understandable letter. I'm telling them what I want to do and why they should have me do it. And I'm backing it up with check out my website. I've done similar projects. If appropriate, I'm sending them an email promo, perhaps of the content if it exists already. I think this is a pitch letter because we have not yet done the project and we need participation. There's a pitch letter that is, I've already done this project, are you interested in it? And then that's directing them to a website so they can view the content. But you're gonna get a lot of no's. There's really, I've left out all of those no's. But if you do everything that you're supposed to, you're gonna get some yeses. It might not start out being Huffington Post. It may not start out being Sports Illustrated, but Patch is gonna be interested in your story. They need content.
Well, that's actually what I'm not clear on. Is it, I would think for a magazine they would need a story. You're offering photographs, so I wasn't sure if you needed to have both for them or just.
No, I think if you give them images, then I think that's either motivation for them to hire a writer, or it's depending on the publication, it's motivation for them to run a photo gallery. And I think in general, I mean, I happen to be an English major, but I think most of us, if we've spent enough time on our personal project, are pretty passionate about it and could write pretty good captions to go along with your photos that for a lot of places that would be sufficient. So don't let that be what holds you back. You don't need to have a writer. If you find a writer that you want to partner with, great. The Olympic Moms, I was partnering with a woman who's a multimedia artist, and we were a great fit. But I could have done everything on my own just as easily.
I'd just like to say, listening to you for the last hour and 45 minutes or so, there's not an ounce of arrogance about you, and I think anytime someone is like that, a nice person, sincere, it also conveys a certain.
Well,
I meant it as a compliment.
thank you. I appreciate that. My brother-in-law will often yell at me that when I'm at cocktail parties or things, when people ask me what I do, I just say I'm a photographer. And he was like, why don't you tell them what you really do? And I'm like, well, I just am a photographer. That's fine. I would rather talk about my Olympic mom stuff than I would about shooting Pitbull or any of that stuff. Thank you. That is really the ultimate compliment. I appreciate that. Yep.
Actually, listening to you, I do hear in your voice that you're really proud of the Olympic moms. Is that one of your most best projects that you really have embraced?
You know what? The question is, it sounds like the Olympic Moms is sort of like my baby. And it really is, because no matter how much work I had done and no matter how much personal work I had done, this was really the first all-encompassing personal project that I had done, where I was flying around the country on my own dime, and I really had so much invested in it that if someone called me for a paying job, I had to be like, no, sorry, I'm booked to do this project. Everyone always said, you need to do a personal project. And I said, well, I'm doing one, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And they said, well, do it, and then all of this other stuff will come. And I didn't ever really believe them, but it has. And I'm not saying it has come naturally or easily. I'm still working on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock on the couch, doing steps 1 through 12. But I would not have done a speaking engagement at Photo Plus Expo, and I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be doing all of these. I wouldn't have the credence to stand up here and say, do a personal project. But now I have. And it's really nice to take pictures that you want to take and have people like them. Because I guess that's really all any of us want to do as photographers. If we can get paid, it's bonus. But you do want to take pictures that people like and tell cool stories. And that's one of my favorite things to do that I don't really get a chance to do enough. So this really was.
I could hear the passion in your voice when you spoke about it, more than most of the things you talked about. So I gather that was maybe the personal best at the moment.
Yeah, it's the nearest and dearest, at least. Yep.
You know, you're talking about personal projects, and I'll tell you, there's a fellow I really admire, and he started out doing what he called long-term projects. And his first one was about people on death row. And it took him like 8 years. He published a book, and again, it was like a springboard. Now he's a very successful commercial photographer in Boston.
Yeah, so this gentleman is just saying about the sort of scope of personal projects, and pick one, whether it's the man in green hats, or I just saw, obviously I'm a dog person, we've gotten that thus far this session, but on old dogs, and I thought, oh, how beautiful. They're really, only you can limit yourself, but just if you're taking pictures, then you're on the right track. And again, I think that is really the goal. And sometimes you can go out and look for your personal project and flip through the paper or look on your iPad and say, oh, that's a good story, I'm gonna follow something on that. Or sometimes it just hits you and, oh, well, that was quite obvious. Why am I not doing that as a personal project? So if your eyes are open and you're willing to do them, then whatever kind of works to your spirit and touches you is going to be what you're drawn to. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
For more information, please visit us online, give us a call, or stop by our New York City Superstore. You can also connect with us on the web.